Different countries concentrated on different instruments of geopolitical superiority. Some countries believed that it was land power that could guarantee them their supremacy. The others believed that the main source of power was the sea power. In the history of the second half of the 19th century, we can find a very good example of struggle between such land power and sea power. The land power was the Russian Empire that spread its territory in Central Asia. The sea power was the British Empire that controlled India and tried to secure its control over this territory. Both these countries competed in the region of Central Asia, and this fact contributed significantly to the emergence of the theory that combined the competition between a land and a sea power. The theory proposed by the British scientist Halford Mackinder. Halford Mackinder was a very prominent figure in the British science and politics. He wasn't just a geographer, he also was a policy advisor, he consulted many politicians, he traveled a lot across the globe, and as a result he believed that the ruling citizens of Great Britain should be able to visualize distant geographical condition in order to spread the influence of their own country. To do this, he developed a geopolitical theory to describe some laws of competition between different states in the world. Despite the fact that Mackinder himself did not use the term geopolitics, it is actually him who contributed maybe mostly to the further development of the whole discipline. Mackinder's geopolitical theory was grounded on several assumptions that described the development of human history. He divided the human history into three main periods: pre-Columbian, Columbian, and post-Columbian. In the pre-Columbian period, the main dominant drama was Asiatic invasions of Europe. Then it was European overseas expansionism. Finally, Mackinder lived in the post-Columbian age, which he described as the age of closed space and the struggle for relative efficiency. There was no more new territories to be discovered, and thus states entered the competition for control over these territories, resources, positions, location, and so on. Mackinder tried to find a link between the dominant drama or the historical period and the dominant mobility of power, which also contributed to development of international relations. In the pre-Columbian age, the dominant power was horse and camel, which describe the superiority of the land power. The Columbian age was dominated by sailing vessels and sea transportation, which was much more about the sea power. In the post-Columbian age, Mackinder believed that the main dominant mobility of power was to become railways. He believed that railways were more important for trade than the sea vessels. Because if you want to transport a product from point A to point B, if you use a sea vessel, you first need to bring it to the sea, then to put it on a ship, then to travel by ship, then to put it again on a train, and finally to reach the destination. If you have railways, you can just start your journey from point A to point B and to save a lot of time. As Mackinder said, a generation ago, steam and the Suez Canal appeared to have increased the mobility of sea power relatively to land power. Railways acted chiefly as feeders to ocean-going commerce. He believed that transcontinental railways were transmuting the conditions of land power, and nowhere it was such a fact as in the closed heartland of Eurasia. If we come back to the story of a great game or competition between the Russian Empire and the British Empire, we can find that to a certain extent Halford Mackinder was afraid of not only railways as an abstract phenomena, but also building of railways in the Russian Empire, which was the main competitor of the British Empire. Halford Mackinder was afraid that development of railways could make the Russian Empire stronger and a stronger competitor to Great Britain in the Eurasian continent. Finally, Halford Mackinder pointed that in the pre-Columbian epoch, it was land power that dominated the Asian steppes. The Asia was the main concentration of international politics. In the Columbian age, it was the sea power of the European colonial empires that made them superior over the other political entities. Finally, in post-Columbian epoch, Halford Mackinder believed the land power to be the strongest and superior over the sea power, especially when he spoke about the part of Eurasia which he called the heartland. Before we describe heartland, let's say a couple words about the map of the world drawn in accordance with Mackinder's geopolitical theory. In the middle of this map, there is the so-called world island, the massive piece of land that combined Europe, Asia, and Africa. It was right in the center of the map, and the all surrounding territories, the islands, as Mackinder called them, were not of high interest to him. Why? Because the main concentration of people or peoples, of resources, of power was in the world island. And in the middle of this very world island was the so-called heartland, a piece of territory which included the Central and Northern Asia, isolated from any possibility of interference from the sea. If we look at the physical geographic map, we can see numerous geographic objects that separate heartland from the rest of the world island and thus make this place a secure one. For example, mountains or deserts. It is on the one hand. On the other hand, being located in the very center of the world island, it allows the country that controls this territory to attack in any direction. So, according to Halford Mackinder, heartland was located in a very secure position. It could allow to a state that controlled this territory to build a powerful army or a powerful fleet with the help of resources located in this territory. And in order to bring these resources to, let's say, the seashore, in order to build a strong fleet, railways could contribute significantly. Railways could connect different parts of this heartland in order to make its power more mobile and even bigger. Heartland was a territory right in the middle of the world island. Halford Mackinder believed that this territory possessed a strategic and very secure location. On the one hand, it was separated from the rest of the world island with deserts or mountains, or in the Arctic region with the ice, making this territory a safe place and preventing any possibility of invasion here from abroad, especially from any sea power. On the other hand, there were certain resources in heartland itself, and Halford Mackinder believed that with the help of railways, with building new railways, any country that controls heartland could connect different parts of it in order to build a strong army or even a strong fleet. And finally, being located in a very center of the world island and in a very safe place and having a big power, the state that controls heartland could attack any state in any direction. In 1919, Halford Mackinder made a little addendum to his theory and called the Eastern Europe a key to heartland. This region geographically was the only that did not separate heartland from the rest of the world. As a result, Halford Mackinder created the following formula. Who rules Eastern Europe commands the heartland, meaning that if any state can control Eastern Europe or the gates to heartland, it can control the whole heartland. Who rules the heartland commands world island, meaning that any country that controls heartland could attack in any direction, could invade any state in the world island, and finally would inevitably conquer the whole world island. Thus, who rules world island commands the world, because the world island was the main piece of land that possessed the main resources, the people resources, the natural resources, and any country that controls the world island would inevitably become the most powerful in the whole world. The legacy of Mackinder's theory and his personal contribution to the development of geopolitical approach is widely recognized and is not questioned, even though Mackinder himself did not use the term geopolitics and, according to his many co-equals, did not like it. Today we can find some disadvantages or drawbacks of his theory. For example, he missed the revolutionary implications of air power, or he underestimated the emergence of the United States as a global power, and perhaps overestimated the role of heartland. But still, his theory was very innovative in the beginning of the 20th century, which made geopolitics very equal to the term international relations. We can point three main contributions of Halford Mackinder to the development of geopolitical approach, to the further development of geopolitical approach. First, he considered geopolitics and geopolitical competition within the world system, within the closed geopolitical space, which actually made geopolitics equal to international relations. Secondly, he spoke about duality or dual nature of competition between states, meaning land power versus the sea power. And finally, he said a lot about the changing role of technology, which contributes to which sort of power is stronger or is dominating in contemporary geopolitical conditions.